Welcome everyone. Good evening. Welcome to Mindworkzz, Niyati. Once again, you were with
Thank
us last year, and you were a very bright student. I can recall that. So, to the students, Niyati Jain is currently in MDI Gurgaon, and she was our student in 2019, CAT 19 batch. She did her graduation from Delhi University, Economic Honors, and she did her schooling from DPS Vasant Kunj with the commerce stream. So Niyati, now student have a lot of queries because CAT is just around 6 months away, and so we thought uh, we should ask some questions from you regarding MDI Gurgaon so that students get to know the first-hand information. So Niyati, tell us something about yourself, your background, and your CAT preparation journey.
Yes, sir. So thank you for having me, sir, firstly. Starting with my background, as you've already mentioned, I am an economics graduate from the University of Delhi. Before that, I've done commerce, and I am a fresher, so I took the fresher route to CAT. In terms of the preparation process, I think people usually have three-step process wherein they're preparing for LRDI and quants and verbal. I had a four-step process at Mindworkzz. The fourth aspect being the psychological aspect of CAT, which is probably the most underrated aspect in my opinion. So, sir, starting with the LRDI bit, I feel my strategy was to do as many sets as possible and get a diverse view on the kind of responses that I can generate. So it's basically developing reflexes around certain question in terms of the kind of sets that you come across in terms of DIL, both LR, and
Mhm.
remembering those responses. So those reactions you should remember so that whenever a certain, because a same question will never come in CAT, it will throw googlies at you. But you need to realize that if the basics are in place in terms of the responses, you will be able to go ahead with the question. In terms of Quantsa, I feel it was the same thing when it boils down to basics. So we have this tendency of quantifying everything. So in terms of, we know that there's three levels to it. So there's LOD1, LOD2, and LOD3.
Mhm.
So there's this race that goes on that, oh, we need to complete all three and do it as fast as we could, and then we've made it. However, I don't think that's the best way to go about it, sir. In my opinion, I spent a lot of time on LOD1 and LOD2 and a little less time on LOD3 because my focus was to get my basics in place. Since, however tricky a question might be in CAT, if your basics are in place, you can always take the normal route to the answer. The shortcuts or the other routes might not work sometimes.
Very true.
And so, in terms of the verbal bit, it was to see as many diverse articles as possible and not stick to novels or books, because I feel that would have given me, I think that gave me an edge in terms of the diverse tones and the context. So, reading articles from either Guardian or The Economist. Economist has some very tricky articles because even though in the English is probably very subtle, however the context that they use it in is very, very different, and you need to be there 100% to understand what that article means. And I feel the level of English in CAT has increased over the years. Even when I saw
Mhm.
it in 2018 and even in 2019, I feel it was very, very different as compared to the previous years. So I feel that is something that helped me getting a diverse verbal experience. And the fourth aspect being the psychological aspect, I think constantly doing something. So for me, it was yoga and meditation. Constantly doing something that keeps me centered is what got me through the whole pressure that's been created. In fact, it's something that's not even created. However, as soon as you enter the examination hall, there's just so many emotions in the air. The energies can get to you. So unless you have something that keeps you centered, I don't think even the best of the students can get through it unless their mind is in the right place. So the fourth
Very
aspect
true.
is the most important one in my opinion.
Yes, yes. And as you mentioned, that Mindworkzz has helped you building over the psychological aspect a lot. So that is very true because in Arun such training, he talks about building the skills more and performing in the exam, right? So apart from that, how has Mindworkzz helped you in other areas? Can you throw some light there?
Yes, sir. So, sir, in the other areas, the faculty being very, very basically they've had so much experience in the training field,
Mm-hmm.
so they know how to tackle different students differently. So for me, I knew that I needed more help in quants, so I communicated the same to the Mindworkzz team. And so basically, I wouldn't want to say like a customized experience, but I feel that they were very, very they were very, very aware that this student needs help in this place, and they were very willing to offer it. I feel it wasn't like one size fits all approach that I feel other places might take, and I did not feel
Okay.
that in Mindworkzz. So I think that is what really, really pushed me to do good. And the whole Mindworkzz team, they were like a rock behind all of us um,
Mm-hmm.
at the time that we were preparing. So I feel that's
Okay.
the
Nice, nice. So now talking about your college, MDI Gurgaon, because students have a lot of queries regarding MDI. So we thought we'll ask you this time. What is the batch size of MDI and how is the pedagogy, the streams
yes.
in MDI?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, sir, the batch size, MDI has three MBA courses running. So, one is the PGPM program, which the size is 240. The second is the PGP program, which currently has 120 students, and the third is the PGP program, which has 60 students. So total of 400 in 1 year.
Okay. Okay. And the flagship course is the PGP, the 240 students, right? Or
Yes.
all the courses are okay. That is the flagship course. Fine. So when we talk about MDI, we know that it is very famous for HR. Like Excel, it is at par. Many people quote that it's at par with Excel, and one of the best HR colleges in India. So, how is the life at MDI, and how has been your 1 year journey so far in MDI?
All right. So, sir, life at MDI is
Is it very hectic? Just chill because campuses are classified in those categories, right?
yes, sir. So, sir, it's very rigorous. I mean, in the
Okay,
first 3 years, 3 months, sorry, I felt that I learned what I could have learned in a year. So I felt like that's the kind of opportunities,
rigor.
knowledge, everything, rigor that's
Mm-hmm.
instilled into you in those 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, sir, going ahead now that we've passed the starting bit, and now when I see it currently when I'm interning also, so I do understand that why there is that rigor, because it sort of trains you for that whole journey ahead, for that whole 1 year ahead. So I think
Okay.
it's a very, very well thought pedagogy that they follow, and it is rigorous. Um, I wouldn't put it any other way, but I think it's the good rigorous that helps you eventually.
Okay, so one question which is common is what does the MDI interview panel looks in a candidate? And there are students who have not so good academic profile, like they are in 70s in their 10th, 12th. So first part is what does the panel look at? Second part is do you know people who are there with not so good academic background, and is there a chance for students at 70s and 80s in their 10th, 12th graduation to make into MDI?
All right, sir. So I haven't had the chance to speak to the faculty in terms of the feedback for my interview. So I wouldn't be able to answer what they look at, but I have taken interviews otherwise, so I can tell from a recruiter's perspective what they look for in a candidate. So I can break that down into three things, sir. The first would be self confidence and awareness of oneself. So as soon as you enter in the room, that's the half if, and if you're doing that with confidence, I think half the battle is won there, sir. having confidence in who you are and what you stand for is what I feel will reflect in whatever answer you give to the panel. The second would be authenticity. I think that's something that should be there. I mean, it reflects in every answer that you give if you are not being you. And that is something that an interviewer looks for. And the third would be the knowledge, basically what you've done in the past in terms of your education, and if you have work ex, so the work that you used to do, and also what's happening around. So being aware of what the external environment, what the changes in the external environment are. So these three things I feel should be there in a candidate for them to be
Okay.
selected. Now,
Mm-hmm.
coming to the if
Academic
some
background.
academic
Yeah.
background, so I haven't come across anyone who probably doesn't have good academic background, but I feel that so I think that's also because we're in the virtual scenario currently, so I do not know everything
Mm-hmm. True.
that's there. But so I think there's more focus put on the whole profile, not just it's not just academics. So if you have a 70% or an 80% in 12th and you feel that's not good enough, but you have that 70% and you have something else also that you've done, you probably have a national level uh, scholarship or a sports thing, or there's something you were pursuing because of which you have a 70%, or there's something else that you had interest in. So if you can
Mm-hmm.
portray that side of your profile, I think any college would be lucky to have you.
Yeah. So one last question before we take questions from the audience. So what will be your advice, the two, three key advices to the CAT 21 aspirants? What should they do?
So my top three advices would be: first, get your basics right in everything. Just get your basics right, please. That will help you sail through, because no matter how prepared you are, CAT will make you uncomfortable. So you might as well get comfortable with getting uncomfortable and change your response to it, how you respond to the cat throwing a googly at you. The second would be do something that keeps you centered. It can be yoga, it can be meditation, it can be running, it can be gaming, whatever, but that keeps you, have that one hobby that keeps you centered through the whole journey, because it's a long journey. Even after you crack cat, the whole interview process, it's very long and it's very rigorous. You need something to keep you alive. So I think just pursuing something that keeps you centered. These two things I think, sir, should be there, and it should be fine for anyone to move ahead.
Okay, let's take a couple of questions from the students. So there's Ariman who says that how is 98.2 percentile in CAT for MDI Gurgaon? 2 years of work ex. Does this profile has a chance? Has a good chance?
Yes, sir, in my opinion, it has a very good chance, considering our batch usually has an average percentile of 98.6 something.
Okay,
Um, and plus, he said that he has work ex as
has a
well.
work ex. So that
Yeah,
will definitely be
pretty good
fine. So
chance.
one more question is how much CAT percentile would land a seat in MDI? So that's the same thing, right? 98 plus should land a seat.
Yes, sir, usually that.
And yeah, so there's one more question: how to manage DILR? It is again a part of the preparation process. Your end-to-end approach in managing an LRDI.
So, sir, DILR, like I said, just doing as many sets as possible, and generating responses to the variety of questions that you can. So if there are like 10 sets in total, please do those 10 sets and 10 different sets, and realize that all these responses that you're getting for different questions, remember them, because they will come in the cat in some
Mhm.
twisted way, but just remember how you responded to it.
Okay, so one last question: how to improve speed in QA? What was your strategy for that?
So my strategy in QA was to practice as much as I could, because it was my weak spot. QA was my weak spot. And I did as much practice as I could, especially for LOD 1 and LOD 2, because I knew that I had to get the basics right. Because for me, remembering the tricks used to be a task. So I always used to remember the basic thing. and that
Mm-hmm.
and doing one thing again and again, it just becomes mechanical then. So when it becomes mechanical, you automatically get speed. So then I feel
Mm-hmm.
that is what helped me doing getting the basics, doing it
Right in
again.
the first.
Yeah, that
Okay.
helped me through it.
Great. So since we have limited time, so we'll end the interview here. It was great having you, Niyati, and we will look forward to having more such sessions once we compile students from questions from students. And for students, whatever questions you have right now, uh, what we'll do is we'll answer them for you in the YouTube comment section. There's one important question is you had cons was your weak section. How did you overcome that? So one thing which you told Niyati is by practice and improving your basics. Right. Anything
Yes.
else?
So I think, and also never letting my doubts settle. So
Okay.
like if I had a doubt, I had to ask it that day itself, finish it off. Do not have a backlog of doubts, because then they eventually become the reason that you do not get ahead
You
with.
fear from that. The fear
Yeah,
also comes in, right?
the sludge
Okay.
becomes, yes sir.
Mm-hmm. Great. So thank you, Neti. Thanks for coming, and thanks a lot. I think the student lot of queries must be handled, and we look forward to more such sessions in future. Thank you very much. We'll be ending now.
Thank you
Have
for
a great
having
day.
me.
All
Thank
the
you.
best. Bye.
Thank
Take care.
you.
Thank you.